What's up, y'all? It's your girl Jay Rene. I hope that y'all are doing well on this Saturday. This is Plus News, okay, with me. And I know that y'all are used to me being here on Fridays, but it didn't happen. So we want to do it today. So here we are. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Jay Rene, and I'm from the National Plus Coalition, and this is Plus News across the globe. It's across the globe because we do cover things. That affect us. It was trying to come back. I like that little thing though. I like stars or whatever. That's another subject. But I thank y'all very much for being here. If this is your first time here, please make sure that you add us so you can so you'll be able to see our other things that we offer. We did have a seminar last week called The Black Effect. You should definitely check it out. It was something, you know what I mean? You should check it out. And I will probably do a repeat, like a run back on it. But if not, it'll be there. It's under this. So you want to make sure that you add us, and you want to add the National Plus Coalition, our other page, and you want to make sure that you add me. All right, the Jay Rene. You can get me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram under that. So the tip for activists. This one was a hard one because it was a few different things that I wanted to hit on. So the one that I select off the top of my dome, as you can tell, be mindful, man. Be mindful of what you're doing out here when it comes to dealing with your comrades and just their feelings and the people that they are, and maybe just anything. Just be more mindful of how we're dealing with each other, because the line of work we're in is a very hard one sometimes when it's from people on the outside. We get attacked and things like that. So, we got to be mindful of how we treat each other. I think as all humans, we should try to attempt to treat each other better. But us as activists and social justice seekers, we just got to make sure that we stick together, where we're taking care of each other and, just supporting each other in positive ways. I think is very important. So that'll be my advice to activists. For those of y'all that have been here before, hello, welcome back. Thank you for coming. I am here on a Saturday. Remember, Friday is the day, but we pushed it back to Saturday with some things going on yesterday. But there's some information that we definitely want to get out. I'm going to be talking about things that are going on with youth and different laws and stuff that have changed when it comes to the youth and things like that. And then I'll be having a guest on also. Many of y'all will know who it is, but you'll definitely see her when she get here, and we'll be discussing what's going on with her son. Okay, this is what we do as social justice seekers and activists. We got to stick together and pay attention when things are going on in the law that we know aren't right, because sometimes we got to band together for the right thing to happen. So let's go into who to add, okay? I got some of the same ones. You're going to keep seeing them because they definitely are important to me. You want to add us. Make sure you add us, man. That's how you're going to see us, all right, at this platform right here and all those affiliated with us. All right, so state versus us. Someone definitely worthy of adding, highlighting high-profile cases, wrongfully convicted stories, corruption in the prison system, and the like. But it's also success stories. We got to make sure we're putting our narratives out there, the real narratives, the success stories, those that come home and they're doing those things, doing their thing, those that's behind the G wall and are also successful and thriving and being a positive contribution to the land. So we want to make sure we put them out there too. That's one of those platforms right here, Voice of the Voiceless. You can add on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Show you right there where to add. And if you got something going on with you, reach out in an email, okay? And see if you can get you some assistance. All right, Bayview, San Francisco Bayview, National Black Newspaper. All right, she does do a live show at 9. That's 9 Pacific time. So on the East Coast time, that starts at 12. Okay, good show. Lasts about an hour, sometimes a little longer. She be having guests on there. But the San Francisco Bayview is a national Black newspaper. It does a lot when it comes to activism, especially in the prison system and in the judicial system. It does it does publish the stories of those that are incarcerated that write in and things like that. So you definitely want to check it out if you're in social justice, especially when it comes to the social justice as far as the judicial system and the police and prison systems. This is a magazine you definitely want to add. Then you got Prison Riot Radio. That's a platform that I'm a part of as well. Okay, me with brother Dutch that's incarcerated, and then a brother Sequence, he's out, and myself, we came over with Prison Riot Radio, another vehicle for those that are incarcerated informally, so to get their stories out there, to create our narratives, to get the wrongful convictions out there, overcharging, and to get the positive things too, with plenty of musicians and authors and poets and just people making programs. It's they doing a lot of things, revolutionaries and all of that. So we cover all of that right there. You can add me on Instagram under prison_riot_radio, and I got Prison Riot Radio group hit on Facebook as well, so you can add me there too. Okay, so this is the case that we'll be talking about shortly, probably in about 10 minutes. I want to talk to you about some other things that's going on. Okay, so there is a law that's been passed not too long ago in North Carolina, and it is about minors. So when it comes to minors, they're saying the new law says that minors cannot be charged as adults, and it was retroactive. Okay, so there are lots of people across North Carolina that are affected by this law, and they are gaining their freedom. Okay, excuse me. I think that it's this is a law I believe that should be in more places. I'm not really sure of how many states it is in, but I think that when it comes to minors, we should be very mindful of how we treat them and how we deal with them, because they're developmentally different, right? And there are children. It is scientific that they're different. Their brains aren't all the way formed, how their brains function and things like that. And I think that that's why adults should, be involved in situations to, be able to govern over them. And that's something that the judicial system and police sometimes they overlook, and they do too much or they do not enough. So it's good that that law came out. I'm hoping that it's a law that is spread across to different states that don't have that yet. And just to be more mindful of how we're dealing with our youth when it comes to this, because putting them in the prison system and stuff like that, it isn't the answer. Like, these are our kids, and what they do, they learn from us. You know what I mean? So we just got to take better care of our kids. Make sure that we're supporting them, make sure we're doing right by them, and not allowing the system to do them, any type of way. So there's a lot of places, like I said, across the United States that don't really have a problem when it comes to violating children. And that's something I think that we should be more active in. Okay. There is a such thing as a school to prison pipeline. I'm gonna tell you about in Delaware what's going on. And I found out this might be going on in other states as well. It might be going on in Ohio. I can't remember if it is. I guess to be able to talk to us more about that. But there's this letter, right? It's called the Adjutant General's letter. And it is a letter, this is in Delaware, that the Adjutant General sends to a school, and it's pretty much like a blotter. So if someone that went to that school was involved in an incident or around when the incident happened, like, they might have just been questioned because they could see something, they see their name on this blotter. If they were involved, say it might have been whatever it was, if they have any interaction with the police off school grounds on the weekends when school is off, the Attorney General puts this report together and she sends it to the school. So then after it gets sent to the school removes this child from that facility or from that school, and they put them in an alternative school. Now, my biggest issue with that in Delaware is this alternative school is proven not to really take care of the children that are there. And excuse me, many of them are not leaving with degrees, so it's like, it's just a place to put them. And I think that is very unfortunate to put good kids in that situation, because they might have seen something happen. Like, it's not fair for them to not be able to just be out in life, like maybe at a store, maybe even sit on a porch, and something happened and their name is put on this thing, and then they're removed out of their school. And I think that it's hard for some people to approach, because for people with kids in this situation. They just want their children to be safe. But we got to do better by our kids, man. I think that we should look more into that. I don't think that students should just be kicked out of the school just because their name was on there. It takes a little more groundwork to see what's going on with that. It's a big debate, but I think that it's something that we definitely need to pay attention to in Delaware. Speaking of Delaware, it is canvassing going on. It's going to be some canvassing going on tomorrow at 4 p.m. as well. I will be there with others, canvassing and knocking on doors to talk about police reform, okay? We know that the police do the wrong thing. We are not surprised by their behaviors. So we are knocking on doors because there's a lot of people that don't know what's going on. So don't be afraid to get out there, put your boots on the ground. Sometimes the internet, there's people that don't use the internet that have the ability to vote things and have the ability to ask for things and even demand things if it comes to that. So we don't want to leave them out. You know what I mean? So we're going out to their doors and we're knocking on it. We want to talk to them about SB 149, and that is for more police accountability and transparency. Okay, we need police reform in the state of Delaware. And I know there's other states and other people that feel the exact same way. So I definitely understand that. So let me see here. I want to make sure I will give our guests enough time. How y'all been doing, huh? I've been all right. A little tired, but the show must go on. The show must go on. And by the show, I mean life. You got to get up and keep going. You know what I mean? Even when you're tired, sometimes you got to get up. But don't forget to rest. You got to rest. But, you got to get it done too. So I think we should go right into, we're about up 2 minutes. I think that'll give us enough time. I want to go into our guests. Okay, so let me prompt y'all to what we'll be talking about, okay? So in the state of Ohio, Butler County, more specifically, that's one of the words, right? Specifically, Dominic Grubb is a 15-year-old who is being held with no physical evidence. All right, and the charge that they got over him is aggravated robbery. Okay, this is him. This is his mother, Brooke. Many of y'all will recognize who she is. Okay, she's actually part of the Plus family, and those that are doing the work for others, sometimes we end up in our own situation. So of course, we're going to make sure that we support her and her son as much as we can. Okay, so they have him detained. He's locked up. They have no physical evidence, and there's so much to this. But she's going to be able to better explain it, and we're going to talk about it so you can understand what's going on with her son. It's very important that we don't let the judicial system continue to be corrupt and get away with things. There are so many young men and young women whose lives are changed forever because they might not have knew their rights, or they didn't know how to fight back, or they didn't know what to do in the situation, and they were actually innocent. We can't let our laws continue to brutalize us as adults, and we definitely can't let it happen to our children. Only us as a people can stand up against this type of thing and work together, okay? His rights were violated. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how he was intimidated, okay? And it's a few things. So I'm going to allow her to come on, and we're going to get right into it. Hello.
Hello.
Yep, I can hear you. Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for having me on.
For sure, definitely. Come on now, we got to. It's your baby, and I know that you don't want them to try to railroad him, and that's what they do. The system has a track record for that, and I think nobody listening to us finds it uncommon, unfortunately. So I gave them some basic stuff about your son, and just pretty much how they are trying to where should we start? Let's start here. Okay, so he's 15 years old, and they have him held in Butler County, correct?
Yes, they have him held in the Butler County Juvenile Detention Center.
Okay, and how long has he been there?
He's been in there 43 days.
Okay, 43 days. So I know that there's no physical evidence against him. So what is there? So when asked why is he there, what is their, what is their response to that?
So they say their exact words in court is he is charged with a serious crime that is based that he can be given up to his 21st birthday for, which is 6 years, and which is aggravated robbery is what he's charged with. And the only thing they have on him is the victim's half statement, which I'll explain a little bit later, but the victim's half statement, my son's own statement, which we are trying to get thrown out. And that's it. That's all they have.
Right. Now with his statement, I know you was telling me about what happened with the video recording of, the facility, which I think it's suspicious to me, and I think anyone with good common sense would agree. So tell us more about like that interview and what happened with the cameras that, brought alarm to something might be going on.
So when when his lawyer just got discovery, the victim's statement, which she had also requested the video recordings because they record interrogations and any interviews with victims. And the victim's interview was completely recorded fine. You could hear and see everything the entire interview. When she went to watch my son's interview, she could see my son sitting in the interrogation room with his head down. Then the detective walked in, and then the entire video goes black. No
And,
sound, no video, no nothing.
and it never turns back on.
Nope, it never turns back on.
But they still have something in writing from your son. So the time that their camera cut off and before they left out of the room, they had something signed from your son, but there was no video evidence like the first guy.
Correct. And I don't know if my son signed it. That is something that, because see, they just gave her discovery. So, like I said, my
Okay.
son's been in there for 43 days, but they just gave her discovery last week. They even offered him a plea deal before giving her discovery. So when we were at court, she had made copies of some of the discovery for me. She showed me the entire binder, but there's other questions that I'm still that I've got to call her about this week on is did he sign the form stating that he didn't want an attorney present, and also did he sign the statement?
Okay. So so let's talk about this, the other guy that was involved. So are you prepared to tell the story from the perspective of your son?
Yes, and I do want to say this. My son, since it happened, my son has been incarcerated. So every time I talk to him, it is a recorded line. They do not allow visitations, and he only gets one 15-minute phone call a week. So the communication I've had with my son in regards to it has been limited. So
Mhm.
I'm going off of what other witnesses have told me and then what I've gathered from him. Oh,
Okay, yeah, I definitely want to double tap back onto their procedures when it comes to communication outside of those walls. I think that's pretty inhumane and unethical. So we're definitely going to talk about that. So yes, please give us the account that you have for what happened, and then we'll go into the witness or into the other guy, the adult. Let me make this clear. There's two minors and an adult involved in this, okay? So she's going to give the account of her son, and then we're going to give the account of the adult and explain what issues we have with that because it's very conflicting. Go ahead, Brooke.
okay. So the night that this happened, I received a phone call from my son's girlfriend, and she had said that there was a shooting and she didn't know if Dominic had been shot or what had happened. So I called the police station to confirm if there was a shooting, and there was. And I sent my dad to the scene to see what was going on. When my dad got there, he seen my son in handcuffs in a police car. So that's when we knew that my son was in trouble. I began calling the police station, telling them that they were not to speak to him without an attorney present. My father went to the police station, sat outside in the waiting room. They never came out and spoke to him. So that's how I found out what happened. From what I've gathered, the victim, his name is Terry. He had been over there earlier in the day smoking weed with Dominic. He's an adult, mind you. He's older than me. and I'm 35, so he's probably around 40. Um, he was over there smoking with Dominic, and he had left. And apparently, he came back. When he came back, Dominic was like standing outside with them. And then, according to both statements, the other minor, which is a white kid, was in the park, because you got to understand where they were at. There's like some streets, and then there's a park like right across the street.
Mm.
And the park takes up like a whole block. So I guess the kid yelled for Dominic. Dominic walked over there. And then when they walked back, the white kid pulled out a gun and told Terry to give him, according to Terry, said, "Give me the money." According to my son, no money was ever involved in anything, that the white boy stole some weed, is what my son said. And I guess they all took off running. The white kid started shooting. And according to some other witnesses, Terry, the victim, also started shooting. And then they arrested my son just a couple minutes later, right down the street.
Okay. Yeah, I don't the guy, the man Terry, I don't consider him a victim. One, because he shot back or was shooting. I don't know who shot first. I wasn't there, right? He was shooting at minors after hanging out with minors, supposedly smoking drugs, right? Why was he over there? Did he say why he was over there?
He said he was over in the, and I'm just calling him the victim just so people don't get confused on who's saying what. According to the victim's statement, he was over there to smoke weed with Dominic.
Out of his own mouth.
Yes,
Okay.
out of his own mouth, he was there to smoke weed with Dominic. And and that he had been there earlier in the day, and he had left, and he came back, and he had came back because Dominic had asked him to come over and smoke weed with them. And they were outside talking, about to go in the house, when the other kid yelled for Dominic from the park.
Okay. So,
So
so go ahead. I'm sorry.
so that is kind of a consistent account from everybody,
Mm.
is that Dominic and this guy was together. They were supposed to be smoking weed or buying weed, because my son's statement. So my son's statement is a little different. My son, he he told him he was buying weed. That I can't.
Um,
I think it was that he was buying weed from the guy, and that's why the guy was over there. And basically, my son basically was saying that it was a drug deal, and then the white kid showed up and robbed that guy.
okay. Got it. So this guy that this he's not even a guy. This kid, this other kid that was supposed to have had this weapon. Do the officers have he been apprehended? Like what's going on?
No, no. So he is not. The name was given by my son in my son's statement. And according to everything that we have seen in discovery, the other child has not been questioned and has not been detained, and no charges have been brought against the other child, just my son.
So your son, the one who he says that he never had a weapon and he never did, he was just there, is locked up, has been locked up, you said, for 43 days?
Yes,
While this other one that was said to have a weapon by, a few accounts have their name and they never even question them. Wow.
correct.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Do you think it's because of racial bias? Is there, what kind of place, what kind of town you stay in? How do they get down there?
Um, I do think there's some racial bias here. I don't think that that's all that it counts to it. I think it's, see, my son is no angel. I'm not going to sit here and act like my son is an angel. He's not. A couple days before this happened, somebody did a drive-by shooting trying to shoot my son, and my son was grazed by the bullet. They never did anything in regards to that, but at that time they made him talk to them, and they even told him, "You have no choice but to talk to us." And I made him talk to him because he had just been shot at. that's one of the reasons too that comes into question on, did they do the same kind of tactics this time when he was a suspect?
Right. I know that that's a, I mean, it's, I definitely can understand why you would feel this way. I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm starting to lean that way too. It's just the fact that the camera cut off like that and there's no recording, you know what I mean? But it's this written out thing. It just seems like some bogusness is in there. And then the fact that they have a name of another youth that was supposed to be the one that actually had a weapon and fired it, and they haven't even questioned him, and he hasn't even been brought in, is suspicious to me. It's a lot of things that's going on with this. um
I do think that is emotionally motivated, because obviously my son is biracial and the other child is Caucasian. And it, in my son's statement and even in the victim's statement, it states that the white child had the gun, shot the
mhm.
gun, took the money, but my son is the only person charged.
And this adult was there. You said there's some people that have tested or not testified, but have said that he was firing a weapon of his own, correct?
Yes. So at the scene where he was parked, um, my son's girlfriend's father actually stopped him because they didn't know what was going on. They
Mhm.
just know they had seen the victim Terry with a gun, and they heard gunshots, and so they stopped him until the police got there.
So he was trying to flee the scene.
Yes, he was trying to leave before the police got there. And
Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and also with his own statement, he got up and walked out in the middle of his statement, and he was
Yeah,
supposed to
I was
come.
about to get to that. Yeah, go ahead, tell it.
And so
You playing it.
he got up in the middle of his statement and left, and then he was supposed to come back for a second statement, never showed up. He didn't show up to the first pretrial, and so it was rescheduled again, which was just this past Thursday, and he didn't show up to court then either.
Let's talk about his statement, okay? And then we could talk about, just build up to what has been going on, because I think it's important for people to know that his statement is conflicting, and it conflicts with what others have said. So I know that you said that he makes it sound like he got out his car and he was chasing someone that was firing on him. But there's, other witnesses that says he was firing at this minor pretty much. So can you tell us about his conflicting statements? Like what he says first happened and then what he changed it to.
Yeah, so, and I have a copy of his actual statement. So these are his own words. They're not mine. They're not changed.
Hmm.
But he, the first thing about his statement, I'm gonna read it. It says, I ran into a boy I worked with. He worked at a temp service over there. I thought the name was Dwayne, but it's something with a D. But I hadn't seen him in a while. And at the quick stop at the corner of Main Street, I dropped him off where I was just at. Well, a house next door to where I was parked at. Anyways, I helped him carry his shit in. He was trying to sell me some weed. I told him I didn't need any. So then he goes on. It says, "How well do you know him?" He said, "Not really well. He had worked a couple weeks as a temp. This was a while ago, a year or so ago. I had hung out with him a few times, and when I saw him out, he asked for a ride." So I just want to state this. My son is 15 years old. So a year ago, my son was 14. There was no way he could have worked at a temp service. He couldn't have legally worked at a temp service. And second, a year ago, my son was living in Mississippi, going to school in Mississippi, which can be proven by school records.
Right. So he was just telling a lie. Continue.
Yes. So he lied about how he knew him.
Hmm.
So I'm not going to go through reading all of this, but basically,
Right.
what he was saying was that he had seen Dominic at a store, took Dominic to his girlfriend's house, dropped off some bags, and he was there for a little bit and then he left. And that he had received multiple calls from Dominic or texts asking him to come over. and smoke weed with him. So he went back over. So he said, so they asked how he knew about the money. So he said, I guess that's how he knew I had the money. I pulled up in front of the house because I wasn't going to hang out with him because he wanted to come to my house, but my old lady didn't want any company. And I was like, I'm going to hang out over there for a while. Then he said, so I pulled up and he said, can you park on the side of the house so it won't block the driveway?
Mm-hmm.
Um, And then he says somebody hollered for him. It was in the park, the white boy. And he was like, hold on a minute. I need to talk to him. And I said, all right. And went to go up towards the porch. He said, just wait for me. So I sat back down in the car. The next thing I know, he and the white boy walk up. I go to get out, and the white boy's got a gun pointed at my face. And he's like, give me the money. And I reach in for the money I had in my pocket, and they took off running. So I chased after them. The white guy started shooting at me, and I get up to the corner, make a left, and the white boy ran through the second or third house from the alley. He ran behind the houses and jumped the fence. So that was his first recollection in the statement of what happened. And he
Mm-hmm.
clearly states that he had got out of his car and the white boy pulled a gun on him and said, give me your money. Okay. And I'm saying that because his statement changes. He turns it into that Dominic was the one who said something and the white kid said nothing. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, but before you do that, so yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I want you to tell him how it. So we heard what he said. He said that Dominic didn't have a weapon because he said the other guy had the weapon. The other kid. I want to make sure we know it is another minor. And then he
Yeah.
said the minor approached with the weapon, drew it, and said, "Give me your money." He clearly said this in the statement. She has proof of all of this. So go and now say how his statement changed.
So then he goes and he basically is talking about the same thing. He said, I was parked around the corner because they didn't want anyone blocking their driveway. He said, wait for me. I need to talk to my friend real quick. And I said, okay. So he walked across the street and was talking to him, and I wasn't paying attention. Hell, it was only a minute or two he was talking to him. When I looked up, they were standing beside the car. So I went to get out, and that's when the boy pulled the gun out, and the black boy told me to give him the money. And they said, who was the black kid you're talking about? And he said, I thought his name was Dwayne. So then down a little bit, they're just basically trying to confirm that it's the same kid
Right.
that they've been talking about.
Right.
So so he says, yeah, so they asked, they said, now the other boy, the white boy, I've never seen in my life. He said, okay, so the guy you knew at Quick Stop earlier was the same one and the one that brought the white kid over to you and told you to give him your money. And he said, yeah. And the white boy pulled out the gun. And when I gave them the money, they took off running. So I chased after them. The white boy started shooting at me. I mean, he was from here to you. I don't know how he missed me unless he was shooting blanks. And then he said they found the shell casings. And it says, well, if he was running, did he turn around and shoot? And he said he turned around and was still running. And then he said he popped off 3 shots. So I want to say this too, okay? Because they found, I believe, 5 shell casings. He
Mm-hmm.
said he popped off 3 shots and ran about 3 more feet and did the same thing and then ran between the houses. So I'm just sorry because I'm trying to read it and then tell you. So here's where he said he fell. He said he continued to chase the boy that he knew. So he continued to chase Dominic up to the corner and he said he tripped and fell because his dog was running with him and he was hollering for the guy. But down here, he's saying how he tripped and why his dog was involved. He said, um, okay, he said, I went to go get out of the house, and that's when he pulls out the gun and D tells me to give him the money. So I give him the money, and that's when I start chasing after him. Because when I opened my door, the dog ran, and I got out of the car and started running after them.
Okay.
But earlier, he said he got out of the car when they first walked up.
Right.
So my question is, why did you reopen your car door for your dog to get out before you start chasing him? But according to some of the witnesses, he had a gun also and was chasing them shooting also.
This is crazy. I know that I know your son is very, he happy that he got you on his side to stand up for him, and not let them just railroad him like this. So the key point of this, though, with this statement is he left. The man left before he finished his statement when they started to pressure him about marijuana, right?
Yes, when they started talking to him at the end about why he was really over there and was he trying to buy drugs, his last thing he said was, "No, if I was going to buy bud, it wouldn't be off that dude, but no, I wasn't there to buy." And then he left.
And he's been subpoenaed at least once, and he's missed several dates to appear. Correct?
Yes, so he was supposed to go back in for a second interview, never showed up. He so the first pretrial, okay, so they had the arraignment and then he had pretrial. His attorney was trying to get Dominic released, but the whole reason they couldn't get him released is because in Ohio they have a law called Marcy law, where the victim has to be notified and has to be present or at least subpoenaed.
Okay.
Well, when they asked if the victim had been subpoenaed, the prosecutor stated that they didn't know who the victim was and he couldn't say whether or not the victim had been subpoenaed or not. So at that point, Dominic's attorney told the prosecutor the name of the victim. So it was rescheduled for this past Thursday. And we went, and the victim was subpoenaed and did not show up. They also didn't have a complainant on the complaint form, which you have to have a complainant. So his attorney had to bring that up, that there wasn't even a complainant. And they wanted to start the whole process over with arraignment, but his attorney told them no, that we were waiving all of that and we wanted to go straight to trial.
How are you the prosecutor and you don't know who the alleged victim is?
The prosecutor that was at the first one said that it wasn't his case and that's why he didn't know. But my whole thing is, you would, if you truly have a victim, you're going to know who your victim is.
Exactly. It's a transfer that's happening. If you even if you change from one person to another, they're gonna tell you this, the specifics of the case and stuff. It sounds like a bunch of bull crap to me.
Well, and don't forget the police officer who brought him in before the detective came in, the victim, the police officer is the one who told the victim that he was a victim.
Yeah, I remember he was saying that. So the guy didn't even really know why he was there, huh?
Well, I'm sure he did, because
Right.
that's like, so I guess they drove him to the police station. But before they drove him to the police station, they drove him to the location where my son was being detained. So my son was in handcuffs in a police car when they drove the victim over there and said, "Is that him?" And mind you, it's dark out also. It's
Right.
not. So that's how he identified my son. And then when they get at the police station, the police officer, Johnson, says, "So detectives are on the way, and this is a big deal. It might seem like just another little thing, but it's a big deal. We've got detectives coming in. We've got an armed robbery. That's what this is. You're the victim of an armed robbery. So we're requesting your cooperation in the investigation."
Wow.
To
So how
me,
did they?
seems like persecution from the police because they just wanted to find something to put my son in jail for.
Yeah, especially if they haven't went to try to find the other young man that had the weapon. You know, it just
Right.
seems like real sloppy. I know. So how is your son doing? I know that you don't get to talk to him often. Let's talk about that. He's been incarcerated for 43 days. All right, and from what I hear of you telling me of the time constraints to be able to speak with somebody from the outside world, I consider it inhumane and I think it disrupts their development. But tell the people again, exactly what the restrictions are at that facility and the name of the facility.
So it's the Butler County Juvenile Detention Center, and it's not like adult jail to where you can have money on your books and you can make phone calls. You get one 15-minute phone call a week, They do not have visitations right now due to COVID, so they give you a 15-minute video call also, but they can take the video call away due to behavior. Um, you can earn, I think, up to 3 15-minute phone calls a week with your behavior, but that's all that you get. You can't pay for extra time or anything. You just get what they give you.
Yeah, I think that's really bad for kids, man, and their development. I don't even think that's good for, adults, but especially not kids. I know that you wanted to talk about the body cam footage. Can you specify what you mean when it comes to that? The officers do wear body cam footage in that county.
Yes, the officers do wear body cams. And the reason I want to see the body cam footage is because I know our interaction with these officers in the past. Um, like I said, a couple days or a week before this happened, my son was the victim of a shooting where someone did a drive-by shooting. And my son did not want to talk to them. He did not want to discuss anything at all. And they told him that he was going to go to jail because he had to do what I told him. And if I said that he had to talk to them, he had to talk to them. And I told Dominic, I said, Dominic, they wouldn't even let him ride with me to the police station. They made him ride in the police car. And every time anything has ever happened with my son and my son is making a statement, it turns into them questioning him about things about him every single time. So that is why anytime he's ever went to make a statement, I don't allow them to speak to him alone. But
Mm-hmm.
in that instance, they did the same thing. I was sitting out in the waiting room and they never came and got me, which is a breach of his rights because when you're not a suspect and you're a victim, he has the right for me to be there. They don't have the right to question him alone when the parent is saying that you can't when you're not a suspect.
That's
They
exactly what I was
violated.
about to say. I was about to say, and then we're gonna go back. I think you were about to say they violated something or violated his rights, but that's what I was about to say. How can you? So people are shooting at you, and then they're treating you like a criminal. Like, why would he have to drive in the back of a police car when people were shooting at him?
Exactly. Exactly, and they took all of them. Everybody that was a witness to the shooting, they took them all in police cars, in separate police cars to the police station and questioned them all separately, which I understand. But again, they violated his rights because me as his parent, I was physically there and I let them know I was there and told them, do not question him without me present. And they did anyways. So now that he's a suspect, it really pulled into question their integrity on how they questioned my son. Did you truly tell him that he had the right to remain silent? Why did his interrogation video go completely black and silent to where we
Right.
can't see? What were you
Right.
saying to him in the police car? Which is why I also want the body cam footage. What did you say to my child? Did you intimidate him and make it seem like he had to cooperate with you?
Yeah, I can see why you feel that way. I mean, it's a lot stacking up against that, against or towards. That's the thing. The fact that that video cut off, I mean, that's like a red flag to me personally. And I know coincidences happen, but that's a hell of a coincidence. You know what I mean? 100%. 43 days. When's the last time you talked to your son?
Last Wednesday was last time I talked to him, and I seen him at court on Thursday, but I didn't get to talk to him. The only thing he could say to me is as they were taking him out, he turned around and told me he loved me.
I know he does. So I know that you was telling me about, a law that you hope to have, come to Ohio. And I think it's a good law. And I think that, this going on with your son has happened with a lot of minors across the state of Ohio. So can you tell everybody about, that?
Yeah, so the Ohio Supreme Court has held up that a juvenile can be questioned without a guardian being notified, without a guardian present, and without an attorney, as long as they waive their rights. But as juveniles, most of the time, a lot of parents teach their kids to cooperate. So they don't understand that I can remain silent because whatever I say is not going to help me. It's just going to get me in trouble. And they don't
Mhm.
understand that. And so I hope to get it changed to where you do have to have a guardian looking out for your best interest or an attorney before they can question you.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome legislation. Like you said, as a kid, you don't know, and they say, are you waiving your rights? They probably don't even know what that means. You know what I
My
mean?
son's on
Depending
an
on
IEP. My son's on an
right,
IEP and has accommodations on tests and reading and different things, but you expect him to understand that he don't have to talk to a person of authority when literally just a week before that you were telling him he did.
right. Yeah, yeah. I can definitely see that. I mean, you know, I can believe it. I can believe it because I know it happens every day, and they already show that they do that. It's just everything put together. So, is there anything else you want to leave us with, or to say about your son? Like, how can we support you?
I, I truly believe that my son is going to walk out of this okay because he has me and I understand the law.
Yeah,
My biggest thing, I want my son's story out here so people can understand that kids and even young adults, even grown people are pressured every day into plea deals for things that they will be acquitted of because they're threatening them, telling them you're going to get all this time. And then they give you a deal. Because, like I said, they offered him a plea, which would be 1 to 3 years, but he's facing 6. And he even asked me, like, Mom, should I just take the plea? And I
right,
have to remind him every day, like every time I talk to him, no, Dominic, we're not taking the plea. We're not. We're going to trial because you're going to beat this. But there's so many people who sit in prison that didn't know that. They didn't know their rights. And that's the biggest thing. People need to know their rights, especially when it comes to their children.
yeah, I agree with you there. Um, you're a strong mama bear. We're here for you with your son. We offer support, 110%. Fighting against the system, man, and they know they wrong. 43 days, no physical evidence. Uh, uh, the I know you say you want to call him a victim to keep it from getting mixed up, but he's not a victim, man. You're a whole adult hanging out with some minors and selling them drugs. That's what I think. I
Well,
mean,
and that's my question too. Why wasn't no charges pressed on him? He admittedly stated he was over there doing drugs with minors and providing it. So
right.
so why isn't there no charges in regards to that? Why is there only charges against my son where there's no gun? They never found no gun on him. There's no money on him. There's no drugs on him. But you got statements from multiple people, including the so called victim, saying it was a white kid. But there's no charges on this kid. There's no effort to try to question this kid. But you're going after my son to give him juvenile life, which is until he's 21 years old, and charging him with a felony in the first degree.
And I heard you say something. I want to run it back so we can be very clear to those that's listening or watching. There was no money. This supposed money. There was no money found on your son, right? Was there
There was
any
not
money ever found or recovered?
No, there was nothing found. There was, I guess, a bag of marijuana found in the park that in discovery said it could be related to the case, but they haven't even pinpointed that it was necessarily related to the case. And there's no fingerprints on it, so there's no way to tell whose it was.
Yeah, they definitely trying to now that they have your son. I feel like this is just my personal opinion. I feel like they don't want to say they wrong. You know what I mean? Like, we got them now. Let's do something because all of this stuff points to wrong, and they haven't even gone to try to find the other young man that had the weapon and was supposedly firing it. I mean, they found shell casings. Did they find a weapon on the other guy? Oh,
That's
we
the
don't
thing.
know.
I don't think they searched his car. because that was the thing, when Steve stopped him, he was getting in his car to leave, and he
Mm-hmm.
left his dog in his car. And when at the very beginning of his police statement, he was on the phone with somebody. He was on
Mm-hmm.
the phone with somebody telling him to go get something out of his car, and he told the cop he was talking about his dog.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So i- he could have easily had a gun and put it back in his vehicle. I feel like this was very bad policing. Very bad policing. They didn't do their job.
Yeah, twice. But they don't know who, shot at your son, do they?
They did call me, and they told me that they called me about 2 weeks ago and said they found the person who was shooting at my son, and they would like to talk to my son. And I said, well, if you want to talk to my son, then you call his attorney,
Right.
because I already know their tactics.
And have they called the attorney?
No,
And how long ago was this?
about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, they want to intimidate your son into something. Talk to and what and this is Butler? Are they
Yeah.
known for poor policing? What's happening?
Yes. Yeah, there's another case that I'm hoping that we'll have on the platform later on, but same city police, which is Hamilton City Police, and I believe it might even be the same detective, have just recently arrested a friend of mine on some bogus ass charges also. So yeah, they're known for that. They're known for racially discriminating. When I was younger and I was in, like the hood, they would
Mhm.
pull me over and ask me, why is a white girl over here? So, yeah, they are known for that.
Wow. Racial profiling at its finest. I hate
And I,
that.
I don't think I even mentioned how they continue to harass his girlfriend
Oh yeah,
for.
you can tell me about that. Let everyone know. Because they have been harassing her. So what have they been doing?
So they did a search warrant on her house, and I'm just going. My son is stupid. My son told them there was 20 grams of weed in the house. They get there, they look stupid themselves. They found like a half a gram of weed in the house. They tore up the house. It was totally nasty to all of them. Took their phones, but there was no warrant. So they could take the phones because they were in the house, but they
Mm.
couldn't go through the phones because there was no warrant to go through them. They held the
Okay.
phones up until a couple days ago. She just got her phone back this week. Mind you, it's been 43 days. She just got her phone back, and when they finally gave it back, this is after they had showed up to her house, after they had went up to the police station asking for it, and they kept intimidating her, trying to tell her that she had to sign something to let them go through her phone. And then when they finally released it to her, they said, yeah, I have to give it back because you're covering for him and won't let us look through it.
Wow. And she's still being harassed.
Yeah. Like, to the point that they even were saying stuff about her living with her stepfather. They went in on her mother, like saying some really hurtful and just out there things to her. It was very uncalled for.
From especially from the police and stuff. But
Yeah. And I want to say his
wow.
girlfriend is 13. So this is
Wow.
intimidation of a 13-year-old.
Wow. Butler County in Ohio. What's the city?
Hamilton City.
Hamilton. Okay. Yeah, we definitely got to bring attention to what's going on down there. I definitely know that law not being able to question minors without adult supervision definitely needs to happen. Not just in Ohio and other places, because there's some other places that do that, and some who just violate the laws. Period. I know that you want your son home. Um, how you feeling about that? You said you feeling pretty positive that things will go in your favor.
I am, but I don't want to sit here and act like I'm not upset. Every day is a struggle. Every day I cry when I've heard my son through this process. Because you asked how he's doing. He's not doing good. He asked me, he said, why am I sitting in jail and I cooperated with him, but the white kid is out there and they haven't done nothing to him. And then he asked me, he said, "Is it because I'm black?" Like, that breaks my
Mm,
heart. My son's 15 to ask things like that.
yeah, that's gotta be. I don't even know. I think that would break my heart if my child said that to me.
And
You
then he
know,
don't,
especially when the answer is
right. And then to also just speak to his competency on even understanding things, he was panicking because his attorney came to see him and told him that they finally received discovery. And he was like very upset, very, very upset about it, saying, "Well, what's discovery? Well, that's bad. I should just take the plea." And I had to explain to him, no, every case has discovery. Like, it doesn't mean that they have anything.
mm,
It's just every case has discovery. And he had no idea. He still don't understand it. He still asked me to explain to him what does discovery mean.
right. Well, I'm glad that you're there to fight for your son, Queen. Definitely. I know this is a hard time for you. You know that we here, right? And we definitely support you 110%. And I appreciate you for telling what's going on with your son. And so other mothers can know what to do. And just so people in Ohio and across the board, because, this is not the only state that, questions minors and does and intimidates and stuff like that. So putting this out, I appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. You got anything else you want to leave us with before you go? Oh, she's gone. That girl knows she know how to exit. Pew. You were supposed to say goodbye, but that's all right, dear. Um, it's what they're trying to do to her son is outrageous, and they definitely do attack the young children now. That they're not exempt to inhumane conditions. They not because there's a facility down. I talked to y'all down in Texas. I need to. I think she reached out to me today too. I called back with no answer. I got to make sure I reach back. It's a facility down in Texas that's inhumane when it comes to children. We have there in Ohio, Butler County, where they're trying to pretty much railroad children and intimidate them. Intimidating and harassing a 13-year-old. You should be ashamed of yourself. What lack of professionalism that is. But we know that that is something that can come with a police force. That's why we have to be more actively involved in a business, and we have to demand that. We have to demand, civilian review boards and things like that. The SB 149 in Delaware that we're trying to get down. That's what that's accounting for because we have to get involved. We can't let them police themselves. And if they do it wrong, right? And it can be a tough pill to swallow, maybe that you need someone else to look after you. But that's something that I appreciated by the military is when they seen something wasn't working, they fixed it, and we got checked by outside people. They came in. It wasn't the guy that's in our same company and stuff. It was somebody else. It might be a whole nother battalion. Somebody we don't even know will come and check us and make sure that we straight. Make sure we training properly. Make sure our paperwork is proper. Make sure we're doing the right thing. And the police and the judicial systems are not exempt for that. History continues to repeat itself to where they are doing the wrong thing. So we have to get involved. They can't get mad and cocky and feel like it's so absurd that we asking them this when it's proof that we need to ask these questions. Okay. And anytime we find something like this going on, we definitely want to make sure that we approach it. We got to take care of our children. We got to take better care of ourselves, right? I hope that y'all are all right. I hope that y'all enjoy the rest of your weekend. It is a nice Saturday, more beautiful in some places than others. Okay, depending where you at, you got some really nice weather. Might be a little chilly, might be rainy, windy, but I hope that you enjoy it. Nonetheless, enjoy your weekend. I'm gonna let y'all go. I don't know if I'm gonna be here next Friday, but if not, I'll be back the Friday after that. If you haven't added us, please make sure you do add this platform so you can see my show again and be alerted of it, and be alerted of our other shows and our the different things that we do here. Like I said, we just did the Black Effect, and y'all should definitely, you can check it out right here. You can go back on our videos. We might shoot it out one more time. I'm not really sure on that, but it might. Sometimes we do a double back on it. And please make sure that you add me too. All right, the Jay Rene. If you have any type of cases that are going on where you're looking for assistance, please feel free to reach out to the National Plus Coalition directly by email. You can see the email right here. Hold on, can I do it? It's backwards, right? So the email right here and the phone number is right there. Or you can text me directly, 914-655-4993. And just text, what's going on. And somebody will get back with you on either one of those platforms, all right? It's been it's been okay, it's been informative. We know what's going on in Butler County, okay? Y'all be blessed and have a great weekend and enjoy your Ramadan. Today's the first day. So may it be a blessed one. Y'all be easy. I'm out.